Hey MVPs, RicoKnows here, and I'm going to talk to you guys about this futures bet. And just full disclosure, I'm making this video free, so it will not show you the final chart of all the other win totals. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have assessed every single team in America. Up to this point, I've probably done, 70, 75 teams or so on Patreon and YouTube. If you go and become a member of the channel, become an MVP, you can see all the other videos. The videos look just like this, except they're about other teams, right? All the Power 4 teams or some other key group of 5 teams. And I go out there and I tell you what my expectations are of these teams throughout the season, and I give you my win total prediction in contrast to, or in reference to, the sports book. So for this particular video, I'm here to talk about Florida International University, FIU, down in Miami. And when I look at FIU, if you go to the sports book, and I'm using FanDuel for an example, I don't know what book you're using. That's your business. But if you look at FIU, they have them at 4.5 wins. Full disclosure, I'm on the over. Okay, 4.5 wins sounds like something I need to go and assess. And the way I do this, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like in real time. You guys are going to see what I'm talking about, and then I'll let you know how I get here in this conclusion. The first thing I want to say is I don't know of anybody in the sports world, like commentators, TV personalities, talking heads, anybody who's talking about FIU. So you can't say that I sat here and stole this take from anyone. If you remember last offseason, I made claims like Colorado's going to win 4 games. Texas State is going to have the best season in school history. They're going to go out there and win games. I believed in their transfer portal class. I made a number of predictions that came true. I think I accurately predicted Minnesota's win total. I've done a lot of things. Now this year I've really stepped it up where I went and just put my money on the line and said I'm going to talk about every team and assess every roster. And I've done that. The videos exist on Patreon. Shout out to the MVPs. But every year I put my stake in the sand, right? And I go, hey, listen, guys, this is true. This is going to happen. And I'm right. I'm right every year. I'm not wrong. I think I missed on one team last year, and that was Missouri. Shout out to Dalen Carnell. He reached out to me, and he told me, Rico, you're wrong about us. He's a starting safety for them. And I said, well, I'll see it. I'll wait till it happens. And I was definitely wrong. But what I need to tell you guys is you got to trust me, man. You just got to believe my assessment of talent and rosters and the way things go. So let's start with FIU in 2023. If you don't know, I'm a capper. I provide analysis on every single team in the country. I provide analysis on picks and games. And I give that to gamblers, my MVPs. They bet on these games. So against the spread, I picked over 400 games last year. We were above 60% if you include prop bets and parlays. If you don't include them, I'm right at 59, over 59.5% against the spread. And a lot of that had to do with I had 2 really bad weeks, and then the transfer portal hits, and it's difficult to get things right in the bowl games. I think in the bowl games, I was 65% against the spread. Against the spread is tough. But if you know this means I watch every single team in America. I study every roster. People will tell you I know every player. That's why I'm RicoKnows. I don't necessarily know if I know every player in America, but I take a lot of pride in learning these rosters and these players. So last year, we had La Tech in the first game of the season. It was August 26th, and I was with the MVPs. We were watching this game live, and we were on La Tech to cover the spread. La Tech did not cover the spread. They did come back to win the game. Congratulations. But they did not cover the spread. And more importantly, FIU was up in that game. Now, if you watch that game, Grayson James, former Duncanville quarterback, Grayson James, who now transferred to Boston College, played horrific in that game. I think he finished the game with 14 yards passing. And it was at that point they had to make a coaching change and start a true freshman quarterback. They just had to. They said, yo, we cannot rock with this Grayson James dude for the rest of the season. And there was a lot of growing pains in the quarterback room. And I bring this up because last night I was talking to the MVPs, and Brian, one of my MVPs on the Discord server, he was like, Rico, if they got that same quarterback from last year, and I'm going to get into it, he's like, they're going to lose games. And I'm like, I know, bro. I know what you're saying. I hear you. Acknowledged. Please apply this information in a couple of ways. Number one, you can take the futures bet with me and take the over and believe in it. Or you can take this information I'm giving you and say the next time FIU plays a game against anyone in Conference USA, bet the under, because nobody's going to score on them. Like, that's how much I believe in their defense. They look like juggernauts in Conference USA defensively. They look like a mother flipping problem. And I'm going to get into this. But you saw them last year. They edge out Maine. That's pretty scary. Not a good win. Beating an FCS team. Some good players on Maine, by the way. Go out and beat North Texas. What an incredible win. You beat North Texas at home. You outscore an Eric Morris offense. I'm so impressed. North Texas was putting up insane points all season long. A really good team. And you outscored them. Beat UConn. Yeah, I can't say anything bad about that. It's a good win. Then you lose to Liberty, to be expected. 2 weeks to prepare for New Mexico State. It didn't matter. New Mexico State and Liberty were the class of the Conference USA last year. They were very, very good. 10-win teams and plus. And, you run into those teams once in a generation, and it happened. Then you look at UTEP. UTEP beats them. That's a bad loss. It's a bad loss, and I think we saw this game. We saw every game in Conference USA. I do a live stream for every weekday game for sure. We bet on every single one. I give you my assessment, and we did really well during weekday games. And I can imagine in this particular game, I don't know who I picked. I'd have to look back, but I'd imagine I picked FIU, and they lost the game to UTEP. And UTEP obviously fires Dana Dimmel, and now they have a new coaching staff. And if you don't know, a video like this about UTEP will be coming out in the next week or so, just so you understand. I really believe in UTEP this season. Shout out to Sam Houston. Couldn't find a way to score yet. And goes out and loses in double overtime. They managed to score a ton of points that game. Losing to Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State had a good team. Shout out to Chris Hardy on the edge. 2 weeks to prepare for Middle Tennessee State. Did not look good. And then they go and lose to Arkansas and lose to Western Kentucky. And everybody goes, Rico, the sky is falling. These guys are bad. And it's like, no, they're not. They look terrible. So let's talk about it. I look at this team, first and foremost. Mike McIntyre is the head coach. If you don't know Mike McIntyre, used to be the head coach at Colorado. In 2016 when they were amazing and he was the national coach of the year. That's him, bro. He's a great coach. So a great coach trying to build, but his whole staff, key pieces of his staff just showed up and they were appointed in their positions in 2022 and 2023. So they haven't been in position for a very long time to make the impact that you would anticipate. They really haven't. Shout out, I think this is his son down here, Jay. Jay's just moved over from Colorado, if I remember correctly. But I wanted to talk about David Yost for a second here, the offensive coordinator. David Yost, quarterback-wise, who has he developed in his quarterback room? Well, if you look at Utah State, when he was at Utah State, he had a quarterback. I don't know, Jordan Love, highest paid player in the history of the NFL. Jordan Love was his quarterback. Now, what did he do for Jordan Love? I don't necessarily know, but I know that every time this man is around somewhere, there seems to be a good quarterback underneath him. When he was at Oregon, quarterback's coach. You might have heard of him. His name's Herbert. So it's just one of those things where you got to trust your eyes and trust what you believe in the quarterback room, okay? I'm not talking about Antonio just yet. I got to probably move that over here somewhere. Apologies. Then we got defensive coordinator, DeWitt here. I'm going to tell you DeWitt's a hell of a linebacker developer, identifying talent of linebackers and developing linebackers. He does that really well. So when you see the linebackers leading this defense, it's no surprise to me. Everywhere this man goes, linebackers and more linebackers. Pretty big deal. Shout out to Eric Hickson here. I wanted to give him a shout out. This is the running backs coach, was the former running backs coach at Miami. I remember when he was a running back. If you don't remember 97, 98, K-State with Michael Bishop, yeah, that was the running back. That was one of the running backs on the team. So he played with Michael Bishop back in the day. Just like the knowledge and the coaches they have on this staff. Look at their stats last year. Keon Jenkins, true freshman, was not supposed to start all season long. Was not supposed to start. It was supposed to be Grayson James' job after his amazing 2022 season. And out of nowhere, we got to start Keon Jenkins. And Jenkins is a good kid, man. He is doing just fine. Played the whole season, a little under 60% completion percentage. Not terrible. Anthony Richardson could never do that. On the flip side, even in touchdowns and interceptions, I don't think it's that bad. It's obviously not good. You need to do better. And I think that gets better with time. That gets better with reps. He looked better this spring, but so did Carlson Hayden. He looked good as well. I'm going to talk about Carlson Hayden in a second here. I don't know if I have their depth chart up anywhere. Man, who do I want to talk about? Hayden and I think Hayden and Patterson used to play, the star wide receiver Patterson. They used to play on the same high school team together, if I remember correctly. It's off the top of my head. All right, bringing back both leading rushers. Bringing back Lawrence and Owens. Owens pops on tape for me. Owens 5.7 yards a carry, pretty sexy average, right? But both of these guys are coming back. If you look at it, the team's 3 leading rushers are coming back, and they're leading touchdown guys. That's 15 touchdowns of production on the the ground. And you see here, Antonio Patterson, defensive back. I want to bring that up because Antonio Patterson has been moved to the defense. This was a running back who he couldn't get any reps, right? They already got all the running backs coming back. They've moved him to the defensive back room. And if you know anything about Oakland high school football in Tennessee, they had an amazing run, back-to-back years, where they won the state title, went undefeated. There's some players. Isaiah Horton was one of the receivers on that team. And though Antonio Patterson was a running back on that team, he wasn't the starter. Nope. The starter was Jordan James, who will be the starting running back at Oregon. So when you look at three guys, Isaiah Horton, Patterson, and James, and you know how good Isaiah Horton is at Miami right now. He's about to be, I think he was my hidden gem for Miami. So you just see really good players, and you get a young man like this that can actually play ball, okay? Antonio Patterson can actually play football, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team, so he moves over to the defensive side of the ball. And they have players on defense. We're going to get to it. But that's pretty unique and different to see a running back kind of get some reps, and now he's going to go play defensive back. Pretty exciting for him. All right, but they do have their top leading rushers returning next year. Receivers, Chris Mitchell. I think when I talked to the MVPs about this offense, I said, hey, guys, the only thing we can bet on is Chris Mitchell's receiving yards, week-to-week prop bets. Take his over yards. Chris Mitchell is the only sum of offense they had, and it's true. He was a dependable wide receiver. He's the guy they threw to the most. Everybody else averaged less than 3 receptions a game, but Chris Mitchell was getting the rock, and he went for 1,100 yards. Chris Mitchell has since hit the transfer portal. He's now at Notre Dame, so congratulations to him. But Dean Patterson coming back. Eric Rivers coming back. Rocky Beers, tight end. Rocky Beers was being used towards the end of the year, and he was used all spring. So Rocky Beers looks like he's going to have a good year. That's your tight end. What a hell of a name, right? What a hell of a name. And we'll talk about some other guys. When we look at their defense, Donovan's gone, but the captain of this defense is Reggie Peterson, preseason first team, all conference, Conference USA. And like I said, their defensive coordinator, wherever he goes, there's good linebacker play. And the good linebacker play continues here. Reggie Peterson is a beast of a linebacker. That is a great player. Don't get it twisted. Good player. Jamal Potts, back. C.J. Christian, coming back. Elijah Anderson-Taylor, coming back. Hezekiah Masses, coming back. Listen to me very carefully. 8 of the 11 starters are returning from last year. 8 of the 11. And some of them started some games, some didn't. But when I look at their wide receivers, I'm surprised that Burris is in the starting lineup. This is a transfer from Stetson. I went and watched as much tape as I could. He's a little guy, but more power to him. More power to him. A little guy running the X, that's kind of not traditional to me. I'm not used to that. But more power to you. It says Burris is in the starting lineup. There's Rivers coming back and Patterson. Both played great last year. They're coming back for another year. But the guy that I want to talk about is Desna. Desna Washington, if you're not a friend of the channel, I put a video out on Desna last year when he was going to New Mexico. Remember, I did a video talking about JUCO players that don't pan out. The vast majority of JUCO bounce backs or, 2 to 4s, they don't make it. There's 4.24s and then there's 2.4. The vast majority of them are complete misses. I know, hey, Rico, there's some dogs in JUCO. Guys, I study rosters. I study this bounce back as much as possible. And when I do it, there's no rhyme or reason to it, man. So everybody was telling me Malik Benson was going to be great last year. I went and watched the tape, and I said, nope. Dude is 6'1", and on tape, it looks like he's going against 5'5" corners. He's crushing them. He's not going to be able to play at Alabama, and I was right. I made a bunch of videos about it. And when you go down this list, though, the number 1 wide receiver was Malik Benson. The second-rated wide receiver was Desna Washington. And I thought it was unique because Desna, shout out to him, he was going to New Mexico. Not these Power 5 programs. You see everybody. Chris Morris didn't work out at Memphis. He's already back in the portal. Isaiah Jada didn't work out at Colorado. Everybody wants to transfer to a Power 4 school. Everybody wants to get back to the big time. I'm going to make it. All these JUCO guys. And I decided I'm going to talk about the one guy in the top 25 who's really going to a place where he can get some playing time. Now, New Mexico had a new offensive coordinator and Brian Vincent coming over from UAB. He since left, went to ULM. So this move makes sense. Desna says, hey, man, I'll go anywhere. I'm from Florida. Let me get back over here. Let me go to FIU. And this man is 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", whatever you want to say. He is his catch radius is ridiculous. He's A.T. Perry. He can catch anything. He will catch anything. He's the guy. I think he had a drop in the spring game or in practice, and the media was talking about, bro, I don't care. He can catch anything. And I want to talk about making smart decisions, because you see players like Desna going to schools that need him and want him, instead of somebody like Kirk down here, who I think the world of, but look what he did. He went to Miami. You've never seen the field at Miami. And all he had to do was take his other offers in the MAC or his other offers at Western Kentucky, wherever. Like, he could have gone anywhere else. But when Miami comes calling, your eyes light up and you think they want you. They don't. They just want to create their best 85. And you might be number 84. You might be the best 7th-string wide receiver they're looking for. They have no desire to play you. You're just a little better than their 7th wide receiver. So they pick you up. But you can go down this list, and I study rosters, guys. You will see a ton of misses. And then every now and then, you'll see a hit. And the reason I say there's no rhyme or reason to it is, as I look at this list of players, right, straight off memory and understanding who they are, I'm telling you there are misses all over this thing. And then you see one like this, 64. There's Red Hibbler right there. 6 sacks last year. My hidden gem on NC State. They hit it out the park. But you look where they got him at 64. It doesn't matter where you get some of these guys. The websites, the recruiting websites, have no earthly idea what they're talking about. Robert Henry played amazing at UTSA last year. Look where they got him. Dingle's all the way down here at 81. It's a shame. There's Reggie Akles. He just transferred to FAU from New Mexico State to FAU. You just keep finding guys way down here. Some will be good, some won't. So I don't really care about the rankings. It's just not every guy on this list is going to make it. It's this harsh reality of life. Unfortunately, there's Will Lee. The blanket just left K-State, went to A&M. He's essentially making it, right? Obviously lived beyond the rankings here. But if you scroll down, let me say this. You got to look at every guy on this list, which I've already done. Because you can go all the way down to 250-something. And way down here, you will find players that are studs. There's Trent Hudson, played great at New Mexico State since hit the transfer portal. There's Forrest Brock, the starting quarterback at Temple. Devon Booth just transferred to Mississippi State. He's now in the SEC. You can find guys ranked way down here. So you're going to find some success. So while I talk about some of these players, please understand, I don't care if they went the JUCO route. Some of them can really play. And there's Sam Brumfield, just transferred to Virginia Tech, will be the starting middle linebacker after having a great year in Middle Tennessee. So I'm telling you, I think Desna Washington is him. I think he's a great addition to this wide receiver room. And the size gives you such a mismatch on a weekday game. There's nobody that's going to line up and cover this man. They better get safeties over the top. I like Desna all day, especially, running those fades and those jump balls. So I believe in that. Offensive line. Speaking of really tall, Travis Burke, I believe, is 6'9". Yep, 6'9", 300 pounds. Travis Burke started every game last year. Let me get rid of Antonio here. Travis Burke started every game last year. So did Nair Jackson. Both guys returning look like studs. Those are really good players on the left side of the line. When you look at the center, Jaheim Buchanan, I got to go back and watch huddle tape because he's never played a down of college football. That scares me. Your starting center has never played. They tell me it's very competitive at practice and he's better than some other guys. Thanks for letting me know he's never played. That's not good. Wyatt Lawson and Jadarius Lee. I'll say that they've played, and I don't mind this offensive line. It's not the greatest in the world. It's not terrible. It's improved from last year. Matter of fact, wide receiver room probably improved from last year. Offensive line definitely improved. Tight end, Rocky Bears is back. He's improved. Quarterback, obviously improved. It'll be his second year. Jenkins finally getting the reins again, and if he doesn't play great, believe me, Carlson can play. Hayden Carlson could throw, and Amari Jones been getting a ton of reps. They're trying to figure out whether or not he's second string or not. They're getting him a ton of reps. He's pretty athletic. Running backs, better than last year. So the entire offense has to be better than last year. They're all returning from last year. They're all returning. Both leading rushers back. Defensively, Keegan Davis, no shade, doesn't pop on tape for me. Cole Gustafson. This is a JUCO transfer. Not ranked in the top 254 JUCO players. I don't care what he's ranked. I go turn on the huddle tape. I'm watching him, and I go, is this an edge? No, he's a nose tackle. About 290, 300 pounds. Super athletic. They even got him on kickoff returns. They got him on kickoff returns. I'm actually going to do a video on him for my Hidden Gems for FIU coming up on YouTube. I'm doing that today after this video. Cole Gustafsson is fair catching kickoffs. He's like the second guy. There's the guys who return the speedbacks. He's the next one up. And he's not forming a wedge. He's just out there. He even returns a kick at some point. Dude's athletic. He's moving. He's running things down. I love his energy or his motor. I thought he popped on tape as super athletic. I really like that kid's tape. And once I saw his tape, I started looking down the list and I said, holy shit. Hey, we got a problem here. FIU's got a defense. Here's Jeremy Passmore, 2-year starter now, transfer from Indiana, stud. Todrick Bruton is the type of player that I would never expect FIU to get. And you got to thank the transfer portal for this, because all the linebacker spots at Miami were taken up. Maybe all the spots at UCF. Maybe he's a late qualifier. I don't know why or how he got to FIU. Maybe he wants to stay home. This is a kid who played at Miami Northwestern in high school. 6'3", 220, a bona fide monster. Didn't start last year, but he can play football. He can play. He looks good. He looks great. He looks athletic. He looks explosive. Probably the most upside of a lot of players on this team. I really like that kid. Todrick Bruton, huge. That's a problem. And then the other two linebackers they're just team leaders. That's the only way I can put it. They're just team leaders. Absolute monsters. And the number 0 and number 1, they're all over the tape. Remember, I go back and watch film on every single player, on every single game, on every single team. That's all I do all off season. That's all I do. I can't show you the tape because they'll give me a copyright violation. But I go back and watch all their games. Dude, 1, 2, 3 superstars. And I go down to 3 because Hezekiah Mass is a legit baller. Hezekiah Mass is a 6', 160 corner starting every single game, all this stuff. He looks like Cormani McClain if McClain was 3 inches shorter and good enough to get on the field somewhere. Like, that's what he looks like. He looks like a real player to me. That dude looks like he belongs on the field. I like him. JoJo Evans, been everywhere. I want to say this is his 3rd school, dealt with injuries last year, but he's a starter. He didn't start last year. He didn't play last year at all. So you got a guy who didn't play last year. He's been fighting injuries, but he used to play at Marshall. I think he used to play at Kent State, if I remember correctly. Or was that Christian? It's one of these guys. Oh my goodness. I don't want to get that wrong. I shouldn't say that. I should know. Let me check something real quick. It wasn't Christian. It couldn't be Christian. No. It wasn't Christian. It's got to be him. That's on me. I don't want to lose my momentum here. I just want to tell you that JoJo Evans, when I watch tape, that's a bad dude. You put him on tape, you put him on the field. Him and Christian. And then we got Brian Blades. Oh, by the way, all the secondary here, I don't know of a better secondary in Conference USA. I'm looking at this secondary, and I don't think there's a better secondary in Conference USA. I don't think there's better linebackers. So the only thing you can talk about is the defensive line not being as comparable to some of these other teams. But I would say defensive lines better than FIU's are typically in the American. Right? I'm thinking of like Charlotte. Some of these guys with SEC size up front. That's not what these guys have. Although Cole Gustafsson, that dude's 6'5", 300 pounds, bro. That dude's enormous. The secondary, though, at FIU, they're the bee's knees, bro. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know. Am I too old? What am I supposed to say? They are him. I don't know what hip phrase I'm supposed to use. I can just tell you that those guys are not putting the fries in the bag, right? Those guys can actually play. They ate it all and left no crumbs. Whatever corny-ass saying you guys came up with to make it sound cool, that's what the hell they are. They're players. And Brian Blades, too, the second, is exactly who you think it is. That's Brian Blades' son. And if you guys don't know Brian Blades, shout out to him. Former NFL, I'm going to say veteran. I don't want to say great. Played him many, many years. He had brothers and cousins and everybody else who played Al Blades and Benny Blades and all this. And unfortunately for him, his father killed his cousin. If you guys don't know the story, I'm not breaking news here. I'm just telling you, this young man's father killed his cousin, went on trial, was found guilty. The judge overturned it 75 minutes later in the courtroom and acquitted this man, and it held up in appeals. So shout out to that family and the terrible things they've gone through. They said a gun accidentally discharged during a dispute and killed his cousin. It was an accident. Who cares? The point is he's got a son here. Now, Brian Blades, when I watch him on tape, little undersized, 5'10", 170, but I know the guy can play football. Like, I know he's a good corner. I think he played at American Heritage, too. Do I have to tell you everybody at American Heritage? These are good players, man. And then Jamal Potts is big, bro. Jamal Potts, 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Jamal Potts is big. Nickel corner. I love FIU. Defense. Offense just looks better than last year, but the defense looks real. They really do. I'm not joking. So when I do this, right, when I have epiphanies like this, excuse me, I got these damn ads popping up. When I have epiphanies like this, I go look at their schedule, and I'm like, man, I got to tell the world that I think FIU is good. So let me tell you how I do win total bets or futures bets, if you will. I'm gonna scroll and make this a little bit smaller. Excuse me. We're in this window. I just scrolled, buddy. There you go. Got to fit it all on the screen. And the first thing you got to do is go back to the sports book. They said it's 4.5. I told you I'm on the over. I think this defense is great. So right off rip, when looking at this schedule, I think they beat Monmouth, La Tech, Kennesaw State, New Mexico State. Those are 4 wins, guaranteed. I think New Mexico State's going to have a huge fall off with all the coaching staff leaving and all the star players leaving. And New Mexico State as a whole transferred to Vandy, if you didn't know. So New Mexico State's terrible. Monmouth's an FCS team that won't be competitive, I don't think. La Tech is terrible. Let's fire Sonny Cumbie now. Okay, and La Tech's only semblance of offense will be their attempt to pass, and you can't pass on this team. So, and then Kennesaw State, I'm going with 4. Okay? But pay attention, because you need 5 wins. I think they're better than Central Michigan. I think Central Michigan's offense is bad. I think their defensive line is terrible. And remember, I've evaluated every single team in every single position group. I don't think they stand a chance against Indiana. Indiana's loaded. Indiana just got an influx of transfers. Indiana's going to be good, like very good, like go to a bowl game good. So I like Indiana to win that game. But I think they can beat Central Michigan. I think they can beat FAU. FAU, it does have a great coaching staff, and they look very similar. I would say FIU's defense impresses me a hell of a lot more. And let me explain to you guys. I just looked at FAU 30 minutes before I did FIU's assessments. If you don't know, when I assess these teams, I don't want to show you guys the locks chart because this video is free. But I do this assessment here with every single team in America. And when I assess rosters, I do it by position group, if you see it here. And you'll see defensive tackles, defensive ends, linebackers, corners, and safeties. And then I go down, and what you'll see is FIU is here, and FAU is here. And maybe, I don't know if you guys can see this on your phones or what, but when you look at FAU versus FIU, it's such a drastic difference. I give it a 70 on FIU's defense and a 52.5 for FAU's defense. So the defenses aren't facing one another, though, right? But I just think that FIU's defense is so significantly better. And a 70 on defense is better than Bowling Green, who I've got a lot of respect for. It's better than BYU, who I have a ton of respect for. That's how I feel about FIU's defense. And their team total is 107, which is better than ECU, better than FAU or Eastern Michigan, right? So when I tell you I think it's better than Central Michigan, they're an 84 and I'm a 107. When I do my metrics and my calculations, the only thing I don't account for is scheme, coaching staff, and that week's injury report, right? Those are things that you have to take into account at the moment they're matching up. And I will do that in my videos with the MVPs when we go to bet on these games, with the spread and things like that. But in the preseason, when I look at it collectively in the preseason, I look at this first slate of games, I think about things like home field advantage, maybe if you had a tough game the week before, things of this nature, and it just feels like FAU and Central Michigan are very winnable games. Very winnable games. They should win those games in my assessment. So, and saying this about a team who didn't win a lot of games last year, it sounds crazy, but you got to just trust me. This is what I do. So 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, and then I'm telling you these are 50-50s. I don't see them beating Liberty. I don't like the way they match up with UTEP. UTEP has a very strong run game. UTEP has a great new team. It would be a coin flip at best, but I like UTEP a lot. Okay, don't forget that. I like UTEP a lot. Sam Houston's supposed to have a good team, and talent-wise, the players look great. They just haven't put it together. Coming into town, we'll see what happens. But even if you don't believe in those games, I don't like the way they match up against Jacksonville State, by the way. And then Middle Tennessee State is one of those things where it'll be the end of the year. We have to look at depth. Are we still healthy? Things like that. But in this very moment, MTSU's only way of moving the ball is Nick V, their quarterback. You want to throw against this secondary? Okay. I don't know what receivers you got that are getting open. I just don't believe in it. So what I'm trying to say is I have 4 definite wins in Monmouth, La Tech, Kennesaw State, and New Mexico State. That gives me, all you need is one more win out of the entire season. These guys could get 6 wins. These guys could very easily be in a bowl game. I think FIU is going to a bowl game. I think they get 6 wins and go to a bowl game. With the amount of games they have left to win one game, they're definitely hitting the over. It's a lock. It's a lock. Now, I can't show you guys the chart, but I do this for every single team in America. And for me, FIU is a bona fide lock to win 4.5 wins. And it's positive money. I would at least put a unit on this. Whatever your unit size is, that's on you. But I would feel very comfortable. My unit size is $100. So I would feel very comfortable with 2 units. I would put that bet in right now. I'm going to call Kim and make her do that for me as we speak. But, yeah, this is my rundown on FIU. I believe they're going to win up to 6 games. Very realistically, shit can get crazy and they win 7, but I'm at 6. That's how I feel about FIU. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Become an MVP. You'll get my breakdown of every single team in America. Stay up, y'all. Peace.